64% of Japan's people live on just 10% of its land. The rest of the country, almost 90% of the map, is mountains, forests, and towns that are slowly dying. How did one of the world's most advanced countries end up with a population trapped in a narrow strip, while the rest is left to snow, trees, and ghosts of abandoned houses? This is the secret geography of Japan, and the invisible border between the Japan you see on postcards and the Japan that is quietly disappearing. Japan's hidden border shapes where people live and build. Japan has about 125 million people. On paper, that makes it one of the most crowded countries on Earth. But the numbers hide a twist. Around 80 million people live in a single corridor known as the Taiheiyo Belt, the Pacific Belt. It stretches from Tokyo through Nagoya, Osaka, Hiroshima, all the way to Fukuoka. This belt covers roughly 10% of Japan's land, but holds nearly 2/3 of its population. Outside this strip, population density can drop from thousands of people per square kilometer to just a few dozen. In central Tokyo, density can exceed 6,000 people per square kilometer. In some rural mountain villages, that number is under 50, and every year it gets lower. Japan looks crowded, but it is actually a country of extreme contrasts, hyper-dense megacities, and vast areas where the population is vanishing. To understand this mystery, you have to ignore the political map and look at the physical one. About 73% of Japan is mountains. That leaves only around 27% as flat or gently sloping land, suitable for big cities, agriculture, and infrastructure. Imagine trying to fit an entire modern industrial nation into just a quarter of its territory. That's Japan. Most of Japan's mountain regions aren't just hilly. They're steep, unstable, and prone to landslides, earthquakes, and heavy snow. Building large cities here is expensive. Transport is difficult. Farming is limited to narrow terraces carved into slopes. So people cluster where the land is generous: coastal plains, river deltas, and lowlands. And in Japan, those mostly line up along the Pacific side of the country, exactly where the Taiheiyo Belt sits. Along the Pacific coast, ports, rail yards, highways, and neighborhoods merge into an unbroken strip of development, an urban shoreline linking cities and concentrating people, jobs, and infrastructure. Geography set the stage. But history decided how the game would be played. From 1603 to 1868, during the Edo period, Japan was ruled by the Tokugawa shogunate. The shogun created a system called Sankin Kotai. Feudal lords from all over Japan were forced to maintain a residence in Edo, today's Tokyo, and travel back and forth regularly with huge processions. Centuries-old travel routes evolved into modern rail and roads. Mapping Edo's paths onto today's Tokyo reveals a glowing web that still guides movement, commerce, and growth. To support this constant movement, Japan built roads, post towns, storage areas, and services, all focused on Edo. Those routes became the backbone of later transport networks. Fast forward to the 20th century. When Japan industrialized after World War II, factories, shipyards, and ports grew along the same coastal plains connected to Tokyo and Osaka. The Pacific Belt turned into an economic superhighway, and people from rural regions moved there in massive numbers for jobs. Even Japan's climate quietly nudges people toward that same narrow strip of land. On the east, the Pacific coast is warmed by the Kuroshio Current, a powerful warm ocean current. It brings milder winters and relatively stable weather to Tokyo, Yokohama, Nagoya, and the rest of the belt. On the west, facing the Sea of Japan, cold winds blow from Siberia, pick up moisture from the sea, and dump it as heavy snow on the coastal regions and mountains. Climate divides the coasts. The Pacific side enjoys bright, calm winter streets, while the Sea of Japan battles frigid winds and heavy, drifting snow that slows life and work. Some areas on the Sea of Japan side are known as snow country. Places like Niigata can receive over 7 to 8 meters of snow in a single winter. That's around 300 inches or more. Living here means constant snow removal, risk of isolation, and higher building costs. For a modern family or a growing business, the warmer Pacific side is simply more comfortable and more efficient. So geography, history, and climate all agree on one thing: squeeze Japan's people into that Pacific strip. But what happens to all the areas left behind? Japan is facing one of the world's fastest aging and shrinking populations. Birth rates are low, and younger people move to the cities. Rural towns lose schools, hospitals, and jobs, and eventually, they lose their people. As of recent estimates, Japan has around 8.5 million vacant homes. Many of these are in rural areas, part of what's called the akiya problem. In abandoned houses, shoji peel, beams sag and collapse, rain seeps in, and saplings push through floors, silent rooms recording the slow retreat of families from the countryside. In some villages, more than half the population is over 65. Once the older generation passes away, there is often no one left to inherit or live in the houses. Entire communities slowly fade away. Shops close, schools shut down, railways are abandoned. On the map, these places still exist. On the ground, they feel like the edge of the world. There is one more twist. The same coastal zone that holds most of Japan's people also faces some of its greatest dangers. Japan sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where multiple tectonic plates collide. Earthquakes and tsunamis are a constant risk, so the country has built enormous seawalls, deep underground flood tunnels, and some of the world's most advanced earthquake-resistant buildings, mostly in the same urban corridor where everyone lives. At dusk, the Pacific Belt megalopolis ignites city lights threading the coastline as millions work, commute, dine, and return home along rail lines and expressways. Japan's population is trapped in a narrow space between mountains that are hard to live in, and a sea that can turn violent without warning. Moving inland is expensive and impractical. Moving away from the coasts means giving up ports, industry, and existing infrastructure. So Japan stays where it is, tightly packed along the edge, balancing prosperity and risk. On most maps, Japan is surrounded by clear borders, blue for the ocean, black lines for prefectures. But the most powerful border in Japan isn't drawn by politicians. It's the invisible line where flat, warm, connected land ends, and steep, cold, isolated mountains begin. On one side, neon, bullet trains, and skyscrapers. On the other, silence, snow, and empty houses slowly collapsing under their own weight. Japan looks like a crowded island nation. But once you peel back the colors of a classroom map, you see a very different story. A country where 3/4 of the land is mountains, where warm currents, ancient roads, and modern industry all push people into the same narrow corridor, and where millions of empty homes sit quietly, marking the slow retreat of human life from the map. The next time you see a photo of a packed Tokyo crossing, remember, most of Japan is not like this at all. It's empty, silent, and slowly being reclaimed by nature. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more map mysteries and stories.